Welcome to episode 11 of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast presented by Novig. I'm your host, Jonny Lazarus, joined by my good friends, longtime NHL reporter Arthur Staple and Stanley Cup champion Mike Rupp. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I can't remember a single thing that happened with the Devils and the Islanders games this weekend because there is so much going on with the New York Rangers right now. So I'm going to hog the microphone and the conversation just a little bit and start us off with the Rangers today. I think we haven't started Rangers in quite some time. Obviously, last night, big night, Chris Kreider, Jacob Trouba make their return. Mika Zibanejad was scratched for being late to a meeting. There's so many different directions we can go in, but Arthur, I'm actually going to kick it over to you and see where you want to take this thing because I can't get my thoughts straight together right now.
We had this conversation when Matthew Barzal was scratched for missing a meeting with the Islanders. Star player, veteran player, a guy who, my reportorial skepticism says, is this first strike or is this last straw when you make this public? And with the Rangers, they've had some moments in the last year plus. You think back to Chris Kreider being scratched right before the Christmas break last year and came out after the season. He had vertigo. He had all these injuries that he was battling, but they made very clear that he was a healthy scratch in that awful game in Newark right before the break. Jacob Trouba, obviously a lot of the conversation about whether he wanted to leave, whatever. These two guys are coming back. It's all water under the bridge to them. They obviously had a good night last night in winning that game. So these are the things that are swirling around your head as you see Mike Sullivan saying Mika was late. We understand the challenges of getting from the city to the suburban practice rink. We had a big snow and ice storm here over the weekend that probably hampered Zibanejad even more. And you do wonder, is this a first instance or is it a last instance where you can't ignore it? And you also have to wonder, is there anything else at play? Is this, we've heard from Mika Zibanejad, about Mika Zibanejad in the past, whether they've asked him to waive his no move clause. He said it quite clearly at the end of last season. He wasn't interested in doing that. It's his right. There's a lot of no move clauses and no trade clauses on this Rangers roster. So you wonder, maybe it's a little too conspiracy minded to me, but do you wonder if scratching him in this instance, whatever the offense was, whether the first time or the second time or the 10th time of being late, scratching him in a game, an emotional game with his closest friend in hockey across the way, making his return to the Garden, and Chris Kreider, is this more than just we're scratching this guy because he violated a team rule? I don't know. I can't say, but I do wonder what it means going forward for Mika Zibanejad and the Rangers, whether this is a situation like they did with Jacob Trouba, where he exercised his contractual right to block a trade to certain teams, made it a little bit more difficult because of his family situation, and ultimately relented a little over a year ago and went to Anaheim. Or Kreider, who had different kind of no trade protection, but was also, the writing was on the wall. He was traded in the off season. Whether this is a situation where Mika Zibanejad is now wondering whether he wants to stay long term. Kick it over to you, Rupper. I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Oh, go ahead, Johnny. You got.
Johnny's ready now.
I saw the reaction, buddy. Take it, Johnny.
Give you a couple more minutes.
I'm a little horny today, guys. I'm sorry. Horny in the sense to speak, not maybe both. But Arthur got my brain going in a different way.
Okay.
By saying that, because Kreider did tell the media that he ended up by Mika's and saw the family, spent some time with him like the day before the game. Normal stuff. And I'm not saying this is like definitely related. Maybe seeing how happy and hearing how happy Trouba and Kreider are in Anaheim, like maybe there is like what else is out there for me if you're Mika, starting to think that way. And again, like this is like speculation. He was late to a meeting, not saying he was doing that on purpose. I don't think he would miss a meeting on purpose, but we've seen Mika at times, like in the past 2 seasons, just like not look all that engaged. And this year, I don't think that's really been the case. I think he's been good. But Arthur, you just really fucked with my brain a little bit, to be honest. And now I'm gonna kick it over to you, Rupper, because maybe you can like save me here.
I mean, I don't. Sure, I guess any of that could be true. I don't know. I mean, all I know is the way it's pretty standard. So I think none of us are thinking that it's a very disciplinary and like this has been an ongoing problem with Mika, blah blah
No,
blah.
no.
Like this is pretty standard run of the mill. You miss a meeting. The big thing to me is if you're late for a meeting or miss a meeting, those are two different things. You miss a meeting, you got to get sat. So Sully kind of says that. Now, is there more to it? I guess there could be. I haven't really thought about any more than just that's the right thing to do if you're trying to set the standard. So that's all I kind of gave it a thought to it. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting from some degree where you're saying, well, because I'm pretty sure the logistics of it all there, he's not the only outlier that lives where he lives to get to the practice rinks. So, that's stuff we did not get an answer to. Was it oversleeping? We joked around with Barzell, and Barzell said, well, the boys, who was it?
Beauvillier.
Yeah, I gave him an alarm clock. So, I mean, they're making it like it's an alarm clock thing, whether it was or not. I don't know. But other guys were there. So, yeah, I guess. I haven't really thought about it, so I can't really add anything. It's the right thing to do if a guy misses a meeting, no matter what the circumstances, the game, whoever it's against. As far as that goes, that's all good for me.
Well, let me ask you this, Robert.
Same thing for me too.
Let Johnny collect his thoughts. Like, been on a lot of different teams, and I think we know from the outside, there can be different rules for different guys who are at different stages of their careers. Like you could, Sidney Crosby or Gino is late for a meeting. That's a different thing than a rookie is late for a meeting. And I think that's the similar situation for the Rangers. Can you think back in your career where you've seen a situation where a guy skated on something like that and you were like, and it maybe resonated in the wrong way, or you saw somebody get kind of harshly reprimanded for something that didn't seem like it warranted it, and maybe it changed his thoughts about where he was?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really recall guys missing a game. So I guess it's whatever you want to set the standard for. I personally have been late for meetings. Was not a scratch for the next game. But every team handles it kind of differently. I don't know. I never seen it where the standard has been set and then maybe someone gets a free pass because of who they are. No, I have not seen that. But you never know. I mean, maybe that's where they come up with like this exaggerated reason why they were not present. Right. Like they maybe kind of try to cover that. It's a slippery slope in that regard, because once you let it, just like anything else we always talk about, if you give one piece of candy to a kid, the other kids are going to want a piece of candy. Like it's just how it is. So I don't know. There's nothing that jumps out to me. I have never been on a team where a guy got sat for not making a meeting. So I don't think I've really been in a situation where a guy missed a meeting all in all. And usually if something happened, they'd be disciplined some way. Fines were a thing. I don't know if that's allowed these days, but that we would get fined is what would happen.
So, okay, I've collected my thoughts a little bit here. Thank you for the time. And again, so I have the delusional Ranger fan in me with some thoughts, and I have like the less delusional media person version of me with some thoughts. And like the delusional me is saying like, okay, it's probably known that Trouba and Kreider were hanging out with Mika the night before, and then Mika shows up late to a meeting. We should make an example. These are the two guys that we didn't want in our organization. He's spending a night before with them and he's late. Maybe like his mind is not there. Like that's kind of where I'm going with your point, Arthur. But then I also think like if he's late for a meeting and they're playing the St. Louis Blues, does he play in that game? But just because it's Kreider and Trouba and the return and he was with them the night before, we're going to sit him because of the larger things at stake, like the friendships and whatnot. Like, is that why they sat him? Or are they sitting him no matter who the opponent is? Like, that's kind of, where my mind goes.
It should be that.
It should be.
It should be that. I mean, I don't know. Like, are we getting confirmation that he missed the entire meeting? He missed the entire meeting?
I just thought late. But I think he was on the ice for morning skate. From what I saw,
he was. I mean, that doesn't mean he was there for any part of the meeting. Could have been an hour before.
I mean, you miss a meeting. You miss a meeting. I think that's pretty standard. You don't play. So I don't read into who they're playing, what the reasons were. I certainly would think that Mika would really want to play in that game. And Mika's been good. And Mika's been good this year. Yeah, this has been good, Mika. So if it was last year's Mika, I could be like, hell, but I don't blame him. Like, Mika sat out a game.
Sullivan would have a statue if this was last year.
Yeah, last year it'd be you get a standing ovation.
Look, here's what I'll throw in too. Again, like Rupper said, if you're going to scratch a guy, you could say he's sick. Everybody's sick this time of year. Everybody, especially guys with kids, there's always some cold or flu going around. So you can say it's an illness. You can finesse it in a lot of different ways. The fact that they went right to he's scratched and here's exactly why, and we're not going to explain it anymore. And Sully got a little sore, I think, after the game being asked about it. It says to me that, and that is the prerogative of the Rangers as an organization, from James Dolan on down to Chris Drury to Mike Sullivan, that we're not going to coddle these guys. We're not going to cover for them if they make a mistake. I think we saw that a lot last year, kind of maybe even a little bit more in the opposite direction of, not only are we not going to protect them, we would like to be rid of them. We would like everybody to know that we've had enough of most of these guys. And they changed out a lot of guys. One of the guys that didn't change out is Mika Zibanejad. Another is Adam Fox. Another is Igor Shesterkin. I don't think they're looking to move on from any of those other guys. Artemi Panarin is another one. But if there's any sort of, I don't know if from an organizational standpoint, I don't know if we want to have Mika Zibanejad be part of our core for the entire length of his contract. And he's got the no move clause. So if he doesn't want to waive it, that's fine. But you can make it an uncomfortable situation if you want to. You can say you were late, and if you were 5 minutes late, or 10 minutes later, you missed the whole meeting. Like, we could say you're sick and you can go home, but we're not going to do that. We're going to say you were late. You violated a team rule. We're going to explain why you're scratched. We're going to essentially embarrass you. I mean, you embarrass yourself by violating the team rule, but they're not covering for you. And a lot of teams would do that. And I think we can't ignore that aspect of this too, that they're being as straight as they can be with one of their star players, who is a guy, to Johnny's point, wears his emotions on his sleeve and has been known to be kind of a sensitive guy at times these last couple of years. So I think tonight is going to be really big for Mika and for the Rangers. If he comes out with some fire in his belly and says, I fucked up, I take total ownership of it, I love this team, I love this organization. If he's a little bit tense and hesitant about talking about it, and he has a lousy game, man, you've opened up a little bit of a Pandora's box here again.
So my last thing on it is, like, I think Sully went out of his way to say Mika's a good guy, he's a great human being. He's all those things he was saying when he was talked to about it, where I think he was making sure that everybody knew that it's nothing more than just him missing it, and we have to set the standard. So I think that maybe something would have more legs if he just said, Mika Zibanejad is going to be a scratch tonight, whatever, disciplinary meeting, reasons, missing a meeting, whatever it is, and just left it there and didn't say anything else. Then you could be like, we want to know more about this or whatever. I also think this is what kind of annoys me in sports and hockey in particular. I feel like sometimes this might be a bad example of it, but things get legs when you give nothing. And they did give a little bit of something. But like, let's go to the we're going to keep this on the Rangers. We got a lot more to talk about with the Rangers, but even like the Jack Hughes situation, when you talk about some of the things in the past, let's go to the JT Miller and Pedersen situation out in Vancouver. Like, when you don't really get, and some things are personal and things you want to keep inside the locker room, you don't want to get it out, and I get that. But when you don't give much, that's where things get legs. So if Mika gets asked post-game about it tonight, just say what happened. Like, if it's nothing, just say, I overslept, I woke up, or whatever. I got going and I got late to my car, and but when you give nothing, that's where people take it elsewhere. So I think that's an area
people like us.
But and it's understandable. You're reading between the lines because you're like, all right, you're not going to give anything on this. So like, I just feel like there's some GMs, there's some coaches that are just, they're a little more candid in telling you what happened, and then I think it dies right there. It doesn't grow and go all these different directions.
Well, again, I think it's going in all these different directions too because of the opponent. Like, I really do feel that way because it's Kreider. Like, I think if this was just a normal game against literally, like I said, the St. Louis Blues, there's not much to it. But because it was this built-up game and because of the known, like, Mika was waiting right there in the hallway after Kreider finished his post-game scrum and they started talking. Like, they hugged and they stared talking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much built up around it because of
more reason. Isn't that more reason to explain what happened? Because like when you're saying this, like for me to never even really think about this till we're sitting here right now, my mindset goes, "Oh, was he out on a bender last night with those two?" No, I don't want to say it was that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so either. But like that's where okay, was that an option? Okay, no. Can he not handle the emotional gravity of playing against Chris Kreider and his? I would like to think that's not the case.
I would hope not.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Is the team trying to send him a message? Because there's so many ways and different things to think about rather than just say what exactly happened. I mean, you made it very clear that he is not a bad guy. He's a good human being. Like, yeah, we got all that. Just say what it is and it's done. It's done. And we just never get that.
Yeah.
I'll ask him tonight. I'll ask him tonight after the game.
This Rangers team.
Well, I mean, I feel like I have to, don't I?
This Rangers team doesn't offer a lot of clarity on those sorts of fronts. I mean,
but they're not the only ones. I'm not even meaning this about the New York Rangers. Like, this goes across the board in hockey. Like so many different things get going, and it's like I don't know, man. Give something. Give something. I mean, Arthur, you've done this business for a long time, buddy. Like, if they don't give you anything, like you guys are the best at like where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, if you're not going to give anything, like I just say, this is what happened, done. I'm not talking about anymore. This is exactly what happened.
And sometimes saying nothing, and leaving it deliberately vague is also a choice, is also a direction you want to take it, where you want people to be speculating and kind of running with it and asking, I wonder what this is about. And to that point, I was on with Johnny and Colby Cohen on Morning Cup of Hockey this morning talking about the Quinn Hughes situation as it relates to the Rangers. We're not even into the devil stuff yet, but all of the reports kind of after the trade has been done said the Rangers were in there to the end making offers. And the people that I talked to we're all kind of scratching our heads saying, I understand it's Quinn Hughes and you can always use a Quinn Hughes, but where would that have fit for the Rangers? They have Adam Fox. They have a team that has very slow forward group, and then you're adding a guy who can make that team faster. Are you bumping Adam Fox to the second power play unit? Are you saying Adam Fox, who's been their number one defenseman since he's pretty much arrived on the scene, is he not enough for this team? I mean, I know they're not in the position they want to be standings wise, and he's been out for a little bit. But it's another one of those situations where are they sending a message? Trying to get Quinn Hughes is a separate thing. If you can get Quinn Hughes, every team should have been making an offer to Vancouver with a guy with no trade protection and seeing what they could offer up for him. And even if it's just for a year plus, makes your team a whole lot better. But in the Rangers situation where you've got Adam Fox and you've got a team that's built around defense and goaltending, it was curious to me, and it made me wonder, and it made some other people that I talked to wonder, like, what does this mean anything for how the Rangers feel about Adam Fox? We're talking about if the scratch says something about how the Rangers feel about Mika Zibanejad, might be fair to wonder why they were so deeply invested in the Quinn Hughes sweepstakes. And I know that Johnny is going to take the exact 100% disagree with me, and I want to hear some more. I want to hear that you see that the gears are turning in your head here after the morning conversation we had. So I'll take the counterpoint to that, Johnny, on the Adam Fox one.
Okay, well, I think maybe you guys can give a little history lesson too. Because again, I think I actually wasn't really even alive for this, but didn't the Rangers trade for Wayne Gretzky when they had Mark Messier? Like, that's not sending a message, is it? Like, if you can get a better player, you're going to get the better. Like, it's not like they don't believe in Adam Fox, but if they have Adam Fox and Quinn Hughes, who the fuck wouldn't want that? Like that's how I read it. It's not like
That
if we're getting Quinn, we think less of Fox. It's like, why not have both if we can?
that's a different one to me, because that was tail end of his career, Wayne Gretzky, who always wanted to come to New York. That was starting to be the tail end of his career, Mark Messier. Those guys had already accomplished
fair comparison, or no? Well, not really, because it's Mark Messier.
No, those guys, and also two forwards of you want 5 or 6 forwards of equal high skill. Defense, especially if you're trading for Quinn Hughes and then you offer him $15 million a year for 8 years, if you're the Rangers, and he says yes, Adam Fox is now your second power play guy. Like, that to me is sending a message. I understand you want the team to be better, and you'd be sacrificing a lot of assets. You've probably given up Alexis Lafreniere in that deal. You're probably giving up Braden Schneider in that deal. You're probably giving up EJ Emery, their best D prospect, in that deal. Probably giving up some draft picks. So you got to fill some other holes too. And now you've got 2 guys who, both, Quinn Hughes is an automatic for the Olympic team. Adam Fox is most likely going to be there, maybe not playing as prominent a role as we used to think he would. But you got to figure out, again, I think it was Colby that said, like, these guys take a lot of pride in what they do. Adam Fox takes a lot of pride in being this guy. He moved mountains to become a New York Ranger, whatever it was, 5-6 years ago. I don't think he's ready to give up that mantle of being the guy that plays 24, 25 minutes a night and is relied on for a lot of stuff. You change the dynamic when you bring in another defenseman who's got a similar profile. It's just my feeling. Rupper, you got to be the tiebreaker here on this one.
What you got, Johnny? What you want to say something?
Adam Fox didn't move mountains to come here. Like, he was a 3rd round pick, and he thought he had a better
teams.
He had a better shot at making that Ranger roster than he did the Carolina roster. He did. I mean, when I was talking to Adam in those days, it was like, man, I hope I just make the team. Not like I'm going to be a Norris defenseman and I'm picking the Rangers because I can pick anywhere I want to go.
Right.
Like, we got to be a little realistic about that.
I think you guys are focusing on the wrong thing in this. Okay. Here's the angle I'm going to go with. I just can't get past the fact that people are saying that the Rangers were into the bitter end on Quinn Hughes. I think that's absolute bullshit.
There's no way. There's no way.
There is not a chance to the bitter end where they. I'm not saying the Rangers did not call on Quinn Hughes. I think every team in the league, their GM should call, even if you think you have just to see what is this going to look like. What can it look like? Look at our roster build, our system, our picks. What would it look like? Everybody should be doing that. Now, did they do it? I bet you they did call. Did they call numerous times? Probably. It's Quinn Hughes. But to say they were in it to the bitter end, who are they going to give up? I think that's a pretty quick conversation when you talk to the Vancouver Canucks and you're like, look, we can give you this and this. And like, what does that look like? We knew, we said it on here and numerous outlets have said it. Vancouver needed a left-hand stud defenseman and a center. The Rangers have none of those. None of those.
No.
So it's a rumored one to be Braden Schneider. I love Braden Schneider. He's right-handed. That's the reason why the deal didn't happen probably to New Jersey for Simone Nemeth, because he's right-handed and probably for various other reasons. So I don't know. It's hard for me to really sit here and be like, oh, like what would that mean? I mean, yes, I don't know if you have a bona fide number 1 defenseman and you believe he's a bona fide number 1. I don't believe you're pursuing another number 1 defenseman. I would agree with that. But I don't really know how serious this conversation was, because I don't think they had any parts to make this happen for the New York Rangers. So I'm hung up on that, and I keep seeing that reported out there.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Rupper. That's a good way to bring it back around. That they were, if there were 6 teams that were considered serious, they probably finished 6th in terms of what they can offer. Totally agree. So, and then we didn't get to Igor smashing his stick after the guy stopped playing last night and gave up that last goal with 3 seconds left. Johnny, I know Igor doesn't show up in the locker room that frequently, especially after losses, but I want to ask you, Johnny, since you were there and you talked to the 2 guys that were having their homecomings and the video tributes and everything, what was What was the atmosphere like? Was it good? Was it welcoming for those two guys? We were definitely kind of speculating a little bit how it would be for Trouba, because some of the fans seem to be convinced that he was the one that was kind of the evil guy in this scenario last season. But how was it? How was the atmosphere?
Yeah, well, to the first part, I didn't go in the Rangers room after. I went to the Ducks room, so I didn't see any Ranger. I watched it after, but I didn't partake in the Ranger postgame stuff. I was very surprised that Kreider's video went first, which made it a little bit awkward for Trouba, I think. And again, I don't think Jacob Trouba is a guy who loves the spotlight, and I don't think Chris Kreider is that way either. But when you have one player who's been here 13 years, obviously they're going to get the more heartfelt, longer tribute versus a guy who's here for 6 years, captain or not. It's two completely different tributes. Trouba's felt like it was half the time that Kreider's was, but again, Trouba spent half the time that Kreider spent in New York. So it kind of makes sense in that regard. But I thought Jacob Trouba was great. With media, I thought, there were some either boos or trues, or you can't really make the difference out between those two things. But, he did a little thing off the bench. He had a nice warm reception, but Kreider did it the way he deserved to get it, right? Chris Kreider was here for a long time, 4 conference finals, 1 Stanley Cup final, many of records. His numbers been talked about being retired. They gave him a really nice tribute. But the one thing that I guess does go under the radar with Trouba was how good he was in the community too. A big part of Garden of Dreams Foundation, obviously had his art gallery and raised a lot of money in that sense. Jacob Trouba did love New York, and I think still does love New York. And he mentioned it in the morning skate yesterday that him and his wife one day will probably settle down in New York. And for he did exit. It is sad. I don't think any professional athlete deserves the slander that he got on his way out, especially one who, again, went to 2 conference finals, wore the C. Did he have his, did he play the best every game? No, but I think the Rangers actually could use a guy like Trouba this year, someone who's hard to play against, someone who can change the course of a game with one big hit. I think I would say the knowledgeable Ranger fans probably miss him more than the people who don't miss him. At least that's how I feel. But yeah, that's all I got really from the tribute and stuff last night.
It's good to hear that it was pretty good, because I was leaving NHL Network, and I was listening on the radio in the car on the way home, so I can hear the ovation for Kreider. And then they played the Trouba one. I still heard an ovation, but I couldn't really figure it out, because I heard some of the same stuff as you, but you were in the building, so I was kind of wondering, because I just think the right thing there, and it sounds like it was, is to give him some love. This guy was a warrior for your hockey club, and I get a little touchy with that, because this is a guy that he did a lot of great things, like you mentioned, but he was a guy who showed up and he played hard. And I thought Jacob Trouba was an awesome New York Ranger. I really do.
Such a nice guy too.
Yeah. I mean, he was the leader. He was the leader that they needed. And you said it about this year, and I'll say it even bleeding back last year and just over the last few years. Jacob Trouba's he's a throwback, and those are dying breeds in the NHL. And when you get one, I think they're so important to have. And it might not always be on the score sheet, but it's just the little things of just being a professional, going in there, playing through injuries, not being on the table every day, the way you go about your business. And you might not be getting goals and assists, but you're kind of setting the standard of what it means to play in the NHL. And I thought he did a really good job of that. So I got nothing but love for Jacob Trouba. And it's good to hear the fans were giving him a cheer.
Mm-hmm. Arthur, anything in that regard? Or I know people were pissed that MSG didn't air it. But I feel like
that's a rough one. I mean, I'm sure they showed
during
some
TV
of the reaction.
timeouts. That's when they do it. TV
timeouts. I mean, if it was, they can rearrange the commercials, the ad drop-ins to at least get some of it. Probably, if it was a different kind of situation. But yeah, it's the way that I think it's the way that the Garden is. If you get your tribute, but you're not part of the thing anymore, so they don't want to necessarily promote opponents on TV. You can understand it, but I think the thing that you can say the most, whether you have in your mind Kreider, his just the raw emotion after he would score a big playoff goal, his scream that he would let out. Trouba, wake the fuck up. The after the big hit in Chicago and the fight. Guy who was always ready to fight after he would throw a big hit too. The guy who always stepped up in that situation. These guys gave a shit. They cared.
Yeah.
They cared about being Rangers. They cared about doing stuff off the ice too, in the community. Both of them, you know, when they created the Rod Gilbert Award, first winner was Chris Kreider. I think the second winner was Jacob Trouba. So these are guys that everyone acknowledged when they were here cared quite a bit about being Rangers. And now that they're gone, you don't have to say like, oh my God, we missed them so much. The way that they both played or went out last year, you know, injuries, malaise, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't a great, you know, you can never have the best exit, I guess. But I think you can certainly, as a fan, say they cared about my team that I care about. That should be enough for everybody. And leave aside all of the disappointments or the whatever, or the feelings about Trouba from the summer before he got traded. They gave a shit, and that matters. And it's good to see that they got through it, and they got a good response from the people in the building, and they can go back 3,000 miles away now, and the Rangers can focus on their own problems from now on.
And maybe you can start playing again.
I did. No, I did want to share one stat. It's like my favorite Chris Kreider stat that, again, like isn't really out there that like everyone knows. I don't know if you guys even know it. But it just speaks volumes to like how clutch Chris Kreider was as a goal scorer in the big moments. In games when facing elimination, Chris Kreider is tied with one other player for the most goals in those games when their team is facing elimination in the playoffs. Kreider has 16 goals in 30 games when facing elimination. Mark Messier has 16 goals in 24 games when facing elimination. And in those games that Kreider played in, the Rangers were 20-10-0. Like multiple 3-1 series comebacks. You know, Rupper, were you a part of one? Did you guys come back from down 3-1?
I don't know if you guys not in that run.
No. But yeah, like just again, like every big moment, I think Chris Kreider was like really at the center of it. At least in my fandom experience. But just a wild stat to think about, right? Like in more than half the games he's played. Nuts. Yeah, crazy stat. I do want to move on to the Devils. I couldn't really squeeze it in, but I did want to tell like one story from my college career about like sleeping late, missing a meeting, because I did do one. Just because I think you guys will laugh at this. So when I transferred from UMass to Mercyhurst, like UMass, it was like very tightly ran. Like if you missed a meeting, like you weren't playing, you were being punished. And Mercyhurst, it was more like loose and guys can get away with shit. Like that's just kind of how the different schools were. But in my first week transferring, so like I'm the new guy, but I can't play because at the time NCAA violations, you couldn't travel, couldn't play, you know, with the team and whatnot. I took a nap and I missed like the first 15 minutes of our video session. So I like snuck into the locker room and like went into my stall, which is like the corner of the room, like as video was happening. And guys saw me, like they all knew that, you know, everyone knew that I was late, but the coaches didn't stop video. They just kind of ignored it. And then after the fact, they were like, why were you late? And I was like, honestly, I'm sorry. I fell asleep. Like my alarm didn't go off. I got here as soon as I could, but yeah, I fucked up. And they're like, okay, like no worries. Like it's your first week. You're still getting accustomed. And I was like, what? That's it? Like nothing? And I said, I was like, listen, I said, I was like, guards, I'm the new guy. Like you got to punish me. Like set a tone here. Like I'm the new guy. So at the end of practice, he's like, all right, Laz, give us 10 suicides. And I was like, 10 punish me. Don't fucking kill me. Like, so I had to do 10
you asked
suicides.
for it, buddy.
Yeah, I asked for it. I had to do 10 suicides at the end of practice. But I was like, I guess I asked for it. But like, what was I just going to do? Get a slap on the wrist and nothing? I was like, you need to make an example of me. And because if that was at UMass, I would have gotten destroyed in front of everybody. You know, like just a wild experience. So I wanted to speak to that a little bit because like it's a funny story to tell, just the difference between the two schools.
Yeah, I mean it's you got to set that standard though, no matter what, you know, what level of play you're talking. Like you got to, because you know, Johnny, like for you to say that and them to at least make you do 10 suicides, they don't do anything. Like then you're gonna have other guys trickling late all the time. You remind me of the one I had. One, it was during the playoffs in 2012 with the Rangers, and I was living in North Jersey. And I was driving into the game. I was driving into the game with one of my buddies was in the car with me, and we are going to go in early, and he was going to go jump over to a bar or whatever prior game. And we were driving in, and it was it's 2012. There was like a presidential, something was going on in the city that day. And like literally the West Side Highway was just a parking lot. And so this is in the playoffs
The worst.
in the playoffs against Washington. And to get to the story quicker, I'm sitting there and we're going like nothing, like snail's pace down the West Side Highway, and I'm waiting to get to at least a part. But you look on the map, everything's red and just gridlocked everywhere. And so we're getting later. I'm supposed to be there at 5 for a 7 o'clock game, and I'm starting to realize very quickly I'm not going to get there at 5. And so I'm like, I put a call in to our PR guy, and I'm like, hey, just let you know, like I'm doing my best to get there. And eventually got to the point where I'm like, honestly, we should just stop moving. I got out and I jogged. I got out, man.
Get out of here.
Yeah, dude. I was in my suit and I jogged from like, I had to have been up at like 80 something in the West Side Highway, and I ran all the way down to MSG. I was sweating bullets. I came in, and so I got there like literally minutes before warmups, and I come walking in, and Ryan Callahan was my locker mate next to me, and my pants were already on. So, anyways, I come in, and Callie's like, "I got you, man." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't think Torts noticed." So what he did is, so when the Torts comes in to have the meeting. So sometimes guys will be stretching on the floor. Some guys will be standing around. You'll sit. You don't have to be sitting like in your stall, but Johnny, you'll back this. The biggest tell that you're not there yet is if my equipment wasn't touched. So Callie took my pants down, laid them on the floor, took my shin guards down, laid them on the ground. So it looks like my stuff's out in front of my stall. You're not going to go and take inventory of everybody's here. So I'm like, oh, Callie, what a captain. Like he ran a pick for me on Torch. But then I started sitting there and I'm like, unreal. I go to Callie, I'm getting ready. I'm like, Callie, like, I got to fucking say something to him, don't I? Like, do you know John Tortorella is going to be that guy? Like, if he finds out 2 months from now, he's going to be like, oh, you think you got one pass on me? Now I'm untrustworthy to John Tortorella. So I remember I went in there and I go, hey, Torts, I just want to let you know, I just got here and poke my head in his
You didn't rat Callie out though, did you?
No, I didn't say anything. I just said, I just got here. I'm like, I've been running. I ran like from the other side of the city. I'm like, you could feel my suit. It's drenched in my stall. You can go. And he goes, I don't give a shit. Just get ready. And I was like, so it wasn't even a big deal at all. I'm like, I don't know, but it was a good teammate there in Cali.
That's good awesome stuff, Rupert. Yeah, that really is. That's good shit. Wow. Yeah. Those are the stories. Like, again, like it all brings it back to this whole situation with Mika. Right. But let's move on. Let's talk Devils. Great Ranger stuff. But again, I feel like the Devil stuff is going to go back to Quinn Hughes, right? Like it seems like Devils fans, it's Arthur, you were on the phone. My friend Lewis, one of my best friends, just FaceTimed me Rupper before he could hop on. He's a huge Devils fan. He wanted to actually talk to you and have you talk him off the ledge. But they're all calling for Fitz now. Like Lewis even said, like, I'm a huge Devils fan. I've supported Fitz forever, but after missing out on Quinn Hughes, I just can't do it anymore. And Arthur, I said it to you this morning, like Buffalo gets shit on. The Sabres fired their GM yesterday. They've not made the playoffs in 14 years, probably going to be 15 this year. The Devils have won one playoff round since Fitz has taken over. One playoff round in 12. Not the same drought, but that doesn't get the spotlight that other organizations have gotten for the lack of success.
Yeah, it's a different situation, I think, just because the Sabres, I feel like the Sabres is a lot of incompetence that goes on there. Like they've had multiple for number one overall picks. Obviously, the Devils have had multiple as well, but I feel like the Devils have progressed quite a bit. Ray Shero, may he rest in peace, one of my favorite people, really
great guy,
did a nice job taking over for Lou and kind of moving the ball forward a little bit when ownership had just changed a few years before, and Fitzy took over. He had been here with Ray, and Fitzy's been around a long, long time. He's seen a lot of different organizations. I think he understands the way to build, and they've built an operation, whether it's analytics or whether it's, player performance, mental performance. It's one of the top ones in the league. They've spared no expense. So I understand the lack of patience. I can also understand as we were talking about this morning, like, you are essentially a small market team. I understand it's suburban New York City, but the Devils are a small market team when it comes to the NHL. They're not the Rangers. They're not the Kings. They're not Vegas now. They're not a destination. They're not Florida. They're not a destination for players. So when you are going to get established free agents, you have to sweeten the deal. You have to give Andre Palat a no move if you want to sign Andre Palat. You have to give Dougie Hamilton a no move that turns into this 10-team trade list, which is not a 10-team no trade list. It's 10 teams he can be traded to. So it's a 21-team no trade list. And so now when they've got to move money out to be able to get a Quinn Hughes or even a Ryan O'Reilly or a Braden Shen, these guys can veto trades. And we know what Weeksy was reporting, and plenty of other people have said it, and I've heard it too, that they've been trying to move Dougie for a while. They've been trying to move Palat for a while, and these guys can veto. I don't know if Dougie was part of this package that they offered to Vancouver for Quinn. We'll probably never know that one. But even if you can make that trade, even if Vancouver says yes to the package, whether it's Mercer and Nemitz and one other piece or two other pieces or one of those guys and three other pieces, you got to be able to complete the other part of it, which is to make the contract, make the salary cap situation work. And it was a difficult juggling act. And if Quinn Hughes had any trade protection and said, I'm only going to Jersey, then obviously he'd be here because the situation was done in Vancouver. But the fact that Jim Rutherford could throw the doors open and say, everybody make me your best offer, Detroit could make a better offer, Minnie obviously could make the best offer and made it. From what I had heard, the Devils knew that they were out of it a week before the trade was completed with the Wild. So I think they just couldn't bring it to the level that was acceptable in a package for Vancouver when they knew that there were other packages, and they couldn't make the money work. So and certainly that you got Fitz, he's got to wear that. Hearing plenty of noise from the fan base. I'd heard a little bit of noise within the NHL circles of people that I talked to. And then the next day hearing, ownership is backing him fully. I think they understand that the injuries have been massive, even in a season full of injuries for all different teams. The Timo Meier absence just adds to it. And when they were at full health, the first 12 games, they were the best team in the East. So I think ownership has felt like we have a chance here to still be good. They're obviously not going to fall out of it. They're not going to lose 10 in a row. Jack will be back maybe by after the Christmas break, maybe into the new year. Brett Pesce is traveling with them now. That's a huge development for them. They're still missing Nemitz. They're missing Gritziuk now to go with all these other guys. But eventually they will have their key guys back, and possibly, within the next 10 games. And they're still in it. Everybody's still in it. There's nobody that's under 500 in this stinking conference. So I think if they can get back to health, if Fitz can figure out a way to get, say, a Ryan O'Reilly, a guy who's won before, who can come into this group and kind of pull them, a fragile group, back together, give them some confidence. It's not full-blown panic time. There's urgency for sure, but there's no need for them to panic. They had, they played 34 games. The first 12 of them, first 10 of them were fantastic. It wasn't like it was 2 years ago that they were good. It was 2 months ago. So I think this is a blow, and I can understand the frustration of the fan base because the deals that you gave out yesterday are coming back to haunt them a little bit today in terms of not being able to move. But that's everybody. Everybody's got that situation. So I don't see that it's time to throw up your hands and say, we got to just do something or change things or whatever. We've talked about it ad nauseum, it feels like, because the slide has been so dramatic. But, taking a breath, now that the huge situation is over, now you know what assets you're going to have. You know that in all likelihood, July 1, 2027, if Quinn Hughes doesn't sign in Minnesota, that he's going to be available and he might come and be a Devil by then. And until then, they can still salvage this season. And I feel like people just got to take a breath here and realize that it's not over.
Rupper?
Yeah. So I'm looking while you're saying that. So I want to start with the no move clauses. I know a lot of people are talking about that. So the Devils are tied for the most in the league. And I agree with what you're saying, Arthur, that there's some markets, some teams that you need to hand those out. And sometimes like that's one thing that I've always felt with no movement clauses is there's a price to pay for that. I mean, when you're talking top end guys, you're going to get that regardless. But there's other guys too from negotiations when you're talking to guys and you're like, hey, we got to fit you under the cap here. And if they're looking to squeeze out some extra money and in free agency, they're like, we can go to this place and this option. They can pay us a little bit more. That's where you pull out that card of, all right, well, we can give you some trade protection here. You have a little bit of control and where you're going to be. That's a lot, and it clogs up. It clogs up a lot of ability to move quick. And I think we saw that right here with this situation. It kind of seemed like it really got going pretty quick with Quinn Hughes, where I think it's probably behind the scenes, it was going on a little bit longer. But I think Fitzy's in a tough spot because of some of these no movement clauses. With that being said, you look for some teams, like I'm looking at the Nashville Predators. That's what I was looking at when you were finishing up, because I off the top of my head, I was like, there's some teams in some markets that don't hand them out like that. And I'm pretty sure looking at Nashville, they've got like Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault, Haula on some sort of trade protection, whether no move clause, Haula's on a modified no trade clause. Those are all acquired contracts outside of, Forsberg was the only one, I think, on their forward roster that they gave a no movement clause to. So, and then on the back end, Roman Josi, and I think the Brady Shea is another one. But my point being is that you don't have to hand them out like that.
Yeah. How many do you get? How many does every team get? I don't know how that works.
No, I don't think there's a limit. You can have every player.
No, there's no limit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no limit. But I guess here's the thing, and I know this from experience from playing with guys on teams where it's not necessarily in some situations, like if the three of us are both playing on whatever team, and I know last year that Johnny got signed to an extension, he got a no move clause or a modified no move clause, and my contract's up. And I'm going to, the next summer, I'm negotiating. We talk. I know that Johnny has protection. It's public now. I'm going to ask for that too. And what are you going to say to me in a lot of these situations? Well, you gave it to Johnny. This sounds stupid. This is like what we talked about at the beginning. But like you gave it to Johnny. I want that too. And once you start handing them out fairly regularly, now that it's going to be hard to bring that back in. I think there are some teams here in this league that give them just to the top end guys because that's the going rate. It makes the GM job so much easier. So listen, I've said it and I'll say it again. Tom Fitzgerald is the right guy for this job. I still firmly believe that. If I was to just be honest, I thought he gave away his no movement clauses too frequently. And now when he gets in a position where it's time to pivot quickly, he can't. He's got to move out some pieces, and that's a delicate situation, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Now, I will say when we're talking about Fitzy too, like people don't talk about enough. Jack Hughes is probably the best contract in hockey. Like having Jack sign long-term.
Is it 8x8?
8x8. Yeah. That's a Fitzy deal. Yeah. Like, so like you had Jack and yes, you didn't know at the time that was signed that the bump up would be what it is now. But you're talking about, you're talking right now and moving forward, this is going to be the best contract in hockey. He brought in Timo Meier. He has made moves. I think where we get hung up here, where the fans get hung up, is I think the fans have wanted more moves over the last couple seasons through these injuries. Remember, that was the whole goaltending issues where they wanted Connor Hellebuck. And the Devils weren't really ready to do that deal. That's before Helly got his extension. And if they wanted an older goalie, they're going to have to sign that money to. And sure, right now, back-to-back Vezinas look like maybe that was a missed opportunity, but no one saw that. That was the right move for the Devils at the time, not trading for Connor Hellebuck. And I also think, and we've talked about this before, where when GMs don't make those moves at times, maybe when fans do, well, that's all you need to know about where they believe their team is at. And the Devils were not a contending team the last few years. So why are you going to blow up the future when it's not there yet, or you've had injuries? Now, bring it to now. It looks like a lot like those last couple of years where injuries are an issue. But I think now you're starting to get to this this area with this core group. I think a deal is needed now. And I get it. It wasn't Quinn. And that's fine. And that's fine. And quite frankly, I don't think Vancouver is going to make that deal because when you're looking, you didn't have the pieces. You could say what you want to say, but like Simone Nemec is nowhere near. Like, hear me out here. I know Devils fans like him, and I love what he's done this year. That is nowhere in the same area code as Yves Bouillon. Not even close.
Wow,
that's not even close. No, that's not even close.
I think so, but like there are people. I had one guy, Mr. White, in my fucking mentions all day on Twitter yesterday, trying to like sell me that Nemec is just as good as Yves Bouillon. I'm like, I don't think people understand how good Yves is. Yeah,
and here's the other kicker too. Yves Bouillon is nowhere near Quinn Hughes. And he won't be. And he won't be. But the point being is that nobody gave a package like Billy Guerin did. So you're going to bring that on Tom Fitzgerald. He can't manufacture in a plant a left-hand shot defenseman that's stud and he's under 24 years old. He can't do it. Yeah. And you needed a center. Dawson Mercer is not a center. He's not a natural center that you're going to use. So like not only just those two guys didn't fit what they needed. In order for Tom Fitzgerald to get really creative, he had too many of these no-move clauses and couldn't do it. So it's frustrating? Absolutely. Does a deal need to be had? Yes, absolutely. I think Fitzy is busy right now. I think a trade does happen. I don't crucify him for what he hasn't done in the last couple of years because I don't think the team's been ready. I think they need help right now. I think now he needs to make a move.
The only guy he could have traded is Luke.
Right. Or Jack. Jack's got no trade protection right now. It's funny. We're just looking like you look on Puckpedia about no move clauses, no trade clauses, and you say, oh, Palat, Dougie, whatever. Will Borgen has a full no trade clause this year. That's a contract he signed with the Rangers. Pierre Engvall has a modified no trade clause for the life of his.
That's a notably horrible contract, though.
Horrible 7-year contract, and he's out for the year. So we don't want to shit on him too much, but it is, and it was something that could have been addressed, I guess, in the CBA, and it wasn't. It's really just become, like Rupper was saying, like players talk. This guy has this sort of protection. You want to, especially as you get older, you have family, you have kids, you want to be settled, you want to be able to choose where you're going to go later on. It's one of the ways that players have control over a situation that they don't always have control of. They're part of a roster. The GMs and the owners are the ones who control a lot of that financial situation. So, in hockey and probably in other sports too, but definitely in hockey, it feels like they set these rules and there's ways around them, and agents feel like, agents are trying to outsmart GMs and owners at every turn. And this has been a way that they've been able to do it. And I feel like, you're a Devil fan for sure. This is what you're focused on, but look around the league and look at all these teams that are just laden with no moves and no trades or partial no trades, where guys have to be asked permission or need to be incentivized in some way to waive a clause to go somewhere. It's part of the landscape now, and it sucks that it bit the Devils in this situation. And maybe even if it didn't, maybe even if they'd made that offer and they were ready to make that deal and they had a deal to send Dougie somewhere else, Billy Guerin comes in and slams that ace of spades on the table, and all of a sudden you've done it for nothing. And
he had, and this is going off of Quinn's post game, which if you haven't watched Quinn, Devils fans, I don't know if you want to watch it, to be honest with you. Quinn Hughes' post game press conference I was locked into that. Like, it was very interesting listening to him speak. He's very candid. Love the fact that he said Billy sacked up, which was incredible content. Did he just say that? But he was very candid, and he basically he said that was Billy's first offer. Billy came to the table and offered that offer, right? That was his first offer. That was his offer. Whether that's true or not, or if I'm reading between the lines, but it sounded to me that Quinn said that there. Now,
I'm pretty sure that's been confirmed too. I think that was
Billy said it too. I think.
Yeah. So let me just ask this for the Devils fans that are all up in arms about this. then I get it. I would be frustrated too, because this team looks like they're just trying to hang on right now. You need to get healthy. You need to get going. I mean, the beginning of the year seems like an eternity ago.
Yeah.
But what do you think if maybe the counter on any kind of conversation, you had to have Nico Hischier in that trade? Would you feel good about that? Because Nico Hischier is the one player positionally that would help out the Vancouver Canucks. And I'm not even saying that's a thing, because Nico only has 2 years left on his deal. So I don't even think Vancouver would want that, because they don't have a assured future with their big trade piece here. I think most Devils fans would say, no, we're not doing that. Well, that's my point. You've got, if you don't have the right pieces, how are you going to make the trade happen? They didn't have the right pieces. The right team got the guy. And now if you're a Devils fan, you hope that he does not love Minnesota and the whole, hey, hold on. The other part about it too, the whole USA hockey experience and the personnel that's there. Because there's a lot. There's John Hines and his past, and there's Bill Guerin. I mean, there's Brock Faber. There's Matt Boldy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. So I don't know where it goes from here, but hopefully we can park all that for a little while and just kind of focus on what the Devils are going to do this year to get back to the way they were at the beginning.
Well, to Arthur's point before about like Ryan O'Reilly, here's where I think maybe the fans and Fitz have like fucked themselves a little bit, because there's been so much chatter about Quinn Hughes that if they go get Ryan O'Reilly, every Devil fan is going to find that beyond underwhelming. Are they not? Like,
totally
now we'll make
disagree.
Really? I think it's like, oh, well, now you want to trade somebody? Like that's how I feel like they'll react.
That would be a good move. That would be a very, very solid move if they're able to do it. And people are going to say he's old, he's this, he's that. You're not wrong, but everything that Ryan O'Reilly does and is as a player is a lot of things that you are not as a team. You need, and he's one. You don't get the nickname the Factor for just being a run of the mill type guy. And
I wasn't trying to disrespect him either. I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I know. No, because of what they thought was coming, and it didn't. Like, I get it. Whatever, it's fine. That stuff will take care of itself. You got to move past that. I mean, they need help. They need a boost. They need confidence. They need some guy with intangibles. I really think that would be a good one amongst maybe a few others out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, we got 10 seconds left for the Islanders here, right?
I mean, they're playing so damn well. What the hell can we complain about?
I love that. Like, we're going to talk about all three teams, and like the Islanders are up near the top of the standings, and they beat three really good teams last week. Fuck them. We got a lot of bad news for the other two teams. Let's dig in on that.
Hey, that's a nod. That's a nod to these guys, though. Like, I know. Islanders team, this is a good club. This is a good hockey club, and I don't know where it goes. So Islander fans that are watching, they're like, hey, we just hung in there with you guys for an hour, and you're barely going to talk about it. Honestly, because just keep rolling. Like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like what I'm seeing with this group, and they're just finding ways. We interviewed Anders Lee yesterday, just hearing the guy talk and just hearing their team, and like, just laid back, doing their thing. Like, they're a fun team right now, and I really, really like where they're at and where they're going.
What I can say about the Islanders. Oh, sorry, go.
No, go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to allude to the fact of the Pat LaFontaine ceremony and the video they posted of Pat talking about that Bobby Nystrom story when he came out of the box, and Bobby that was an unreal story. Yeah. Like, that was incredible. Maybe we have Zach Phillips filling in for Vic today. Zach, maybe I could send you that clip and we can like play it in here somewhere for people that are audio only that haven't seen it. But that was awesome. And listen, I'm a huge Pat LaFontaine guy. His brother John was my coach in juniors for 2 years. Like, his son Daniel was on that team. Like, I've known Daniel for a bit. But really cool to see Pat LaFontaine get that honor, because I wasn't really alive to watch a lot of them, but I've seen all the highlights, and he was one of the best again, American-born players there was, right? Or there is.
Yeah. It was an awesome ceremony. It was really emotional, I think, too. I think his son-in-law just passed away not long ago, and his wife's been sick for a long time. And I think that kind of coming all at once with this incredible honor that we've known about for a while. I think we talked about it last show. Should have happened a long time ago. And all the different weird stages of Islanders ownership over the years that when he kind of asked out in the early 90s, left after being a loyal soldier for a long time, and came back as part of the front office group when Charles Wang had bought the team, and then left pretty abruptly from that. About 20 years ago. It's been a rocky road, I think, with the Islanders, but I think it's nice to be past all that and have him be honored rightly. And just knowing him a little bit, talking to him, I heard that story, that Bobby Nystrom story that he told me for an Islanders book that I wrote a few years ago. Just, being a young guy, him coming into that team where there could have been some grumbling. It was a team that had won 4 straight Stanley Cups. They were going for a 5th. And here's this precocious teenager coming off the Olympics, coming in to try to help them. And instead of, pushing him out or keeping him out of the inner circle, they're like, we got your back, and literally got your back by beating the shit out of somebody that tried to go at him in one of his first games. It's incredible. And to see all those guys, the ones that are still with us at that ceremony, seeing Trottier and Billy Smith and Bobby Nystrom, who, like Patty, married a Long Island girl and stayed on Long Island for his post-playing career. It's fun. It's a nice reminder that Islander community, and you, Johnny, you grew up amongst it. It's a big little town, Long Island. It's the most, it's the biggest small town area, I think, in the United States that I've ever been around, that people take such fierce pride in being Long Islanders and loving that team because it's the only pro team out there, loving the fact that they played in a shithole for so many years. It all makes no sense to anybody outside, but I think if you're there for a long time, you love it. and you appreciate a guy like Pat, who came from Michigan and stayed and built up, Companions and Courage, this incredible charity that's helped so many families on Long Island. And he's just a great guy and totally deserving of it too.
Did Rupper say that's confirmed about the shithole?
I hate that. That place is the worst.
As a fan, I love it.
I will throw in now that. Trying to spin it back to the current team. Starting to hear a little bit of like, hey, maybe they're going to add kind of chatter that like they've, haven't. I don't think they've passed that point
yet. How could they not?
You can say, it's 33 games. You can't say for sure that they're going to be there even in a month and a half. But as you get closer to the Olympic break, if they're still where they are, and there's no reason to think that they won't be, because Sorokin to me is the Vezina Trophy winner right now. If you're stopping the voting, he's been lights out. Matthew Schaefer's going to win the Calder, I think, maybe unanimously. You got a lot to like. Yeah. Obviously, Bo Horvat's going to be back in a couple of weeks. We'll see if either of those guys make it to Milan with Team Canada. But when you're thinking about adding, they've got some cap room. They don't want to sacrifice any of their futures, so they could add a middle 6 winger. I feel like a guy like Mason Marchment in Seattle fits them perfectly, with a guy who plays with an edge and score. They probably need a number 6 defenseman. I threw out Nick Leddy, who was an Islander for a long time in the mid 2010s. I don't know that he's still got the speed that he used to have, but he's been playing a lot in San Jose. Plays a fast style. The Islanders want to play fast. They've got some options. That we're talking about all these huge trades, and whether it's the Devils with Quinn Hughes or O'Reilly, Rangers going after Quinn Hughes, trying to change things up. Islanders just need to make some small surgical deadline moves to keep this thing going. And I think they're going to be in a good spot to be able to do that, because they've got the cap space. They've got some draft pick assets. So that's something to keep an eye on, and that's going to be fun to watch too.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, this team's rolling. They're fun to watch. They're beating good teams. Who are their last 3 wins against? Tampa, Vegas, and Anaheim?
Anaheim. Yeah.
And then
like, those are convincing wins.
No, they've been beating the big dogs. I agree with you, Arthur. I think right now might be a little Matthew Darsh, little premature right now, unless it's just like a real subtle thing. But right now, let's just keep seeing what you got. Keep rolling this thing in. once you get past and into the new year a little bit, if this team's still where they're at and competing the way they are, like that's the time where you got to sit around and be like, all right, we got to give these guys a little bit of something to get them over the hump here. So I think it's a super fun place to be for the Islander fans. They're the team. I mean, when we started doing this this year, I thought that the Islanders would be the ones that were dragging through here. You know what I mean? Like trying to tell, like they're the ones right now I feel the most secure about, and not just because of what's going on with the Devils or the Rangers still kind of struggling to score at home and all that stuff. Just trying to figure out who's who, and I kind of feel like we know what they are. We know what they are. We may put a cap on the ceiling of them, but we know who they are, and I think that's one of their biggest strengths. They know who they are, and they bring it all the time. So it gives them a chance to win. I love it, and I heard also that they were one of the teams that was down to the wire on Quinn Hughes. No, they're not. You know what? Islander fans are too smart for that. They're like, no, we weren't.
I wonder.
The Ranger fans would be like, see, Ranger fan. No, Ranger fans, I love you guys, but you guys want to be like, oh, see, we're in on this. Oh, that, like, no, you weren't. You weren't in on Quinn. Stop.
If Jim Rutherford called Matthew Darche and said something about Matthew Schaefer, does Darche just hang up right away? Not even entertain that idea.
I think that's worth a laugh. You don't want to be in your first year as a GM and hang up on a guy like Jim Rutherford, but probably a good chuckle at the very least.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, great stuff today. Apologies to Islander fans and apologies to anyone who left a voicemail. We had a lot to talk about in today's show, so we're going to save the voicemails for Friday's show. But as everyone knows by now, our show is presented by Novig, the future of sports betting. On Novig, you play against other real users, not the house, and it's the only commission-free exchange, so you keep every dollar you win. You'll get better odds than traditional sportsbooks, meaning you're 10 times more likely to win in the long run. So choose the best odds or offer your own. Trade Novig coins for fun or Novig cash to win real prizes. Sign up with code DailyFaceoff to get $50 in Novig coins when you spend $5 on your first purchase. Available in most states. Must be 21 or older to play with no purchase necessary. And I know we just glazed the Islanders for about 5 minutes, but we're actually going to bet against them tonight because they're playing in Detroit against the Red Wings. And the Red Wings are minus 130. The Red Wings have won 4 of their last 5. You got to think the Islanders are due for a loss at some point, right? They can't possibly be this good. So we'll fade them tonight and go with the Red Wings. Great stuff today, guys. Seriously, it's so much like it's so funny how like we do a show twice a week, and yet every single episode, the mood is completely different. And it's not like they're playing that many games in between, you know? So I wonder what will happen come Friday's show. But love you guys. You're the best. Love all the listeners, and we'll talk to you on Friday. Hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see some more Tri-State hockey content, don't forget to leave a like and comment on the video below, and also subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel.